All right, guys, let's talk about the most disappointing division in the UFC. I think, at least from the men's divisions, it has to be the heavyweight division for 2025. And again, we can talk about Tom Aspinall's injury, which we'll get into in a moment. Right now, obviously, I think the main hindrance that the division faced was the retirement of John Jones, which happened back in June. Obviously, then the UFC promoted Tom Aspinall to undisputed champion. Remember, he had the interim strap during that period of time. And, UFC 321 was such a underwhelming event when it came to the outcome. I remember watching this at a local pub, and definitely, man, the fan base was just completely deflated. We know that 321 also featured who was it? Yeah, Alexander Volkov, and was it Jalton Almeida? Yeah, Jalton Almeida. I mean, it was pretty much a heavyweight eliminator bout there as well. I think many people would have thought that Volkov was going to be facing, the winner of Tom versus Cyril, but now we're running that one back, assuming Tom's going to fight. So I decided to take a look at Tom's page, and he actually put out a video 4 hours ago with Patty, and they were predicting the 2026 year. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, but his eyes look a little puffy, but he uh doesn't look bad. I mean, and so according to this, some of the takes here, he had surgery this month, or actually the month of December. He had surgery, and he's going to have another surgery, a second surgery, probably in 10 days now, 10 days from now. So he should have surgery. Let's use January 15th as the barometer. And if we go by that, I started looking into his condition, like what is Tom's issue, and apparently he was diagnosed with bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome. So it's essentially a condition that affects the muscles that control eye movement. What's interesting about this is that it's typically a genetic issue. My mother-in-law actually has this issue, and in her case, it was something that happened over the years. She was struggling with her eyes, and it's something that usually happens to people that are, as they get older, obviously things start to break down on your body, typically your eyes, but it's also something that's genetic, not necessarily just related to getting older, but it's also something that most people that have this issue develop it from a young age as well. So then I started looking into the surgery. So if he does have this secondary surgery, what are we looking at in terms of recovery time? So according to an online search, this should be about 3 months, if not a little longer, especially if there's a bilateral case. Um, so let's say that if we go by that timeline, we're talking February, March, April 15th, we should see Tom clear. I mean, he's young, he's an athlete. He should be cleared sometime in April. So the question here is going to be, is he training? Is he working out? He looks fit in his most recent video. And on top of that, I think the main question is going to be sparring, right? That's where you can get the eye pokes or grappling. I would assume that Tom is going to be ready sometime in May, June. Again, White House card time frame. I think the UFC is going to be precautious with this. They're gonna have him go and fight probably post the UFC um, White House card. I'm curious, when is the UFC slated for UK cards in 2026? because I think that's what's ultimately going to be the what's going to happen. So they're slated to be in March of 26. I don't think he's going to be ready. And when are they slated for a France card? Because this is where it's going to be interesting, right? It's going to be interesting if Sorrell gets the home court advantage. So they typically hold the event in September. They haven't announced uh, they haven't announced anything in France yet. So I guess we're gonna have to wait um, post March or around March. I think is when the UFC will start to announce some of the remaining cards of that what is that third quarter, third quarter. So we'll wait on that. But that's probably the other logical answer is that we'll see Cyril and Tom probably in September in France. So so I do predict Tom's going to win that fight. Again, it was such a small sample size, but I think Tom does win. I think he beats Cyril Gane. I'm wondering what you do with Alexander Volkov, Sergey Pavlovich. I noticed that Curtis Blades is out. He tore his meniscus back in 2025, so he's probably out till at least August of this year. So we might see Curtis sometime in the at the end of 2026. And I think Volkov and Pavlovich have already faced each other. Am I wrong in saying that? No. So they actually fought. Volkov won the fight. I remember this one. So that's probably not going to happen again. I like to think, but then maybe the UFC pushes for the winner of Volkov versus Pavlovich, um, giving them the automatic title shot against the winner of Tom and Cyril. So my wild card for this division, it's not even a wild card. I think everyone's seen this is the rise of Waldo Cortez Acosta, aka Salsa Boy. He has a fight against Derek Lewis, and I saw the face-off that we had. I think it was sometime in December. The UFC was promoting some of the 324 fights, and one thing that stood out to me, I thought Waldo was like small in stature. But he actually, in that head-to-head face-off, he was bigger than the Black Beast, than Derek Lewis. And matter of fact, he's an inch taller. Derek does have the reach advantage, but we know Salsa Boy is going to try and get in the clinch. That's where and he's going to try to back him up. So this is to me the interesting fight of the division because these are more of the popular heavyweights that we have, right? I think if Waldo KOs Derek Lewis, which is my prediction, Tapology is saying that Cortez is going to win by KO according to the voters. The community is picking by 77% that he's going to KO him, which is interesting. Again, Derek can pull this off. I mean, we've already seen him push back on was it Talisman Teixeira? So Derek is the type of guy to flatline upcoming prospects, and this is going to be the ultimate test for Waldo. Is he really ready for that higher echelon of fighters? And we know he is 9-2 in the UFC, so he is a veteran within the UFC, but he did lose a couple of fights. One of the things that stand out the most is that he really hasn't lost by KO. His losses have been by decision, and were against Sergey Pavlovich back in August of 2025. So fairly recently he lost, but then obviously he did KO two of his fighters, the fights post the loss to Sergey, and he did beat Sergey Spivak and Ryan Spann earlier in the year. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I do predict that Waldo's going to take the win. Going back to the rankings here, what does that do for him? I mean, does he jump? Uh, does he jump the guys there? I think Waldo versus Sergey would make a lot of sense, because now you can do you can do Tom versus Cyril sometime in post June, post the White House event, probably September. Then you could probably wait till this fight happens in January, and it's going to be odd man out for one of these guys. But you could also put Waldo, because I think if Waldo wins, you can put him up against either Sergey or Alexander Volkov. I'd put him up against Alexander Volkov. So I'd say the winner of that fight, I think that could be on one of the on the White House card, and the winner there faces Tom or Cyril at the end of the year or early January of 2027. So that's my prediction right now. I don't know what you do with the rest of the pecking order here. This is probably have Sergey and Sergey fight each other. I think they've already faced each other, both Spivak and no, they haven't. There you go. That's the fight to make at the heavyweight division. Probably both Sergeys. Let them duke it out for Sergey supremacy. And Curtis is on the shelf for now. Jalton, a lot of people think Jalton beat Volkov. I'm inclined to to say he did, but I don't like his style. I know he's a BJJ practitioner. He's great on the ground. His ground game is out of this world, but even when he did get a chance to take Alexander down, he wasn't really doing anything. So I'm not really interested in watching him fight again. I'm sure there's going to be some matchups for him. Maybe they have him face Marcin Tybura. I don't think they've fought. No. So you can probably put him up against Marcin Tybura. Now, what's going to be interesting is what happens with uh, Alex Pantoja. So on that Tom Aspinall prediction video with Patty, they discussed the possibility of Alex going up. And I spoke about the same situation on the Jackson podcast with featuring Michael Bisping and John Anik, and they both discussed the same thing that if Alexander, I'm sorry, if Alex Pereira goes up, he's going to stay at heavyweight. I mean, and it makes sense. He's 38. That's probably what's going to make the UFC heavyweight division a lot more interesting. I know it's wishful thinking, but could we see John Jones come back into the picture? Because here's another interesting thing, right? Assuming they make the Alex and John Jones fight, I agree with Michael Bisping. He said it's flat out who wins that fight, and I think most people are taking John Jones. Just the wrestling is just he's not going to strike with um, Pereira. A good question is going to be: is can Pereira's takedown defense transfer to the heavyweight division? That's going to be the interesting thing, and can John Jones keep this on the ground? Because that's where he's going to make this a lot more interesting. So that would be the only way to, I think, like take this heavyweight division and put it in a more prestigious route. I think if you have John Jones, Alex go up there, they duke it out post White House, whatever the case, whoever wins. I'm assuming John Jones wins. He probably goes back into retirement. Now you have Alex. Put Alex up against any of the up and coming contenders. Again, maybe even against Salsa Boy. You could have, just going back to the rankings page. Man, I lost it. I guess I must have clicked out of it. There we go. You could have him face maybe Jalton as well. We know Or you could put him up against Curtis Blades late in the year. I could see Pereira KOing Curtis as well, similar to the way that Derek Lewis KO'd him, which was, a uppercut as Curtis was shooting. So I think that's what will make the heavyweight division interesting right now. I'm looking for Waldo to have his coming out party in terms of entering that contender space. Um, and I don't really see Alexander or Sergey fighting for the championship. If Waldo has a great win, I still think he needs one more. But knowing the UFC, he might jump the rest of the contenders and slide into that championship fight with the winner of Tom and Cyril. So I'm curious what your guys take on the heavyweight division. It's not looking good. I think we need a banger fight out of Tom and Cyril to kind of wake up the heavyweight division, and we need to get these guys matched up, especially the fact that this fight, when was 321? This was back in October, so remember December. So I'm looking for UFC and Dana to match make some of these guys. We need some fights in the heavies. It's definitely in one of the worst shapes I think I've seen over my 15-year MMA fandom. So give me your thoughts, like and subscribe, guys. I'll talk to you guys as always on the next one. Sunrise out.